can machine these shapes. So I'm in 3D CAM at the moment, and this is the file that we've got, which is made up of an IGES shape, which is the 3D parts, and then some profiles which have been imported as DXF files. So the first thing is to sort out where we want 0. So to do that, we go into milling, set the origin, and we'll make it Z max, so that Z0 is the top of the job. It can be wherever you want it to be, but I find it easier if it's the top of the job. So to machine the 2D shapes, if we highlight the entries here in the objects window, we can see that those sketches have been highlighted as they've been imported as a single sketch. So we need to split those sketches. So if we right click and say split the sketch, then we get a sketch for each one of those shapes. So if we want to do a 2D operation on this sketch here, we'll just have a quick look at the tools that we want to use. I'm not sure what tools we want to use, but it's quite a big part, so I'll use a big tool, but you can use whatever tool you want. Okay, so that's the sketch. We right click and say a new profile operation. We'll go around the outside. We can either climb or conventional mill. The roll radius will give us a lead on and a lead off. Offset extra I don't need, which will add on an allowance for finishing. So if you need to make multiple passes, you would do that, and then use this as a roughing and then a subsequent finishing pass. The tool we want to use, I'll use a 20mm end mill, and then the clearance planes here. This is a position above the job where it's safe to rapid. The feed change plane is a position where it changes from rapid to feed rate. The final depth is the depth that you want to cut. If you want to do multiple step downs, then you just enter the value here. And if you need to go through the material, then you can add in a through depth there. Okay, so that's produced a straightforward 2D operation around the outside of that part, and then we can do the same thing on the other parts there. What I'll go on to next is how we machine the angled face. So to start with, what I'll do is that profile operation, I'll just switch that off from the display so we can see more clearly what it is we're doing. So I think the easiest way to do that is, let's change our view to XY, and what we'll do is we'll just I'll just, in freehand mode, I'll draw a series of lines around that area there. Now if I could easily read in the DXF file that generates this profile, but I'll show you how we do it in here. So I'm just going to do this in freehand mode. If I want to, I can type in the exact coordinates of the endpoint here, but for a roughing operation, and then I'll use the snap mode to snap onto the end of there. So I've got a simple 2D sketch there, and I'll stop drawing. So I've now got a sketch which I can do a 3D operation on there. So to do a 3D operation, I need to create a surface which is a triangulated mesh of the model. So I choose a surface, and the tolerance here just gives me a value for how coarse or how fine I want the part to be. So that's created the surface. Now we'll to the toolpath on that. So that's the sketch there. So if we right click and say a new pocketing operation, I'll start off with a large step over so that it calculates more quickly. I'm going to use zigzag mode, and I'm going to change the angle to 90 degrees, so it's climbing up and down those faces, choose the tool I want to use, the clearance plane and the feed change plane and so on. The step down in this case will be 0, and I'll make the depth minus 0.25 so the edge of the ball nose cutter goes past the bottom. Okay, so that's in the wrong place. Let's generate a surface with that. So that's just recalculating that toolpath now. Okay, so that's obviously going a wee bit too deep there, so we'll change that. Minus 2.5 I wanted, not 25. Okay. Okay, so as we can see there, that has produced that toolpath running up and down the faces. I'm not sure how you're going to machine these re-entrants here. Maybe you need to use a very small cutter or a shaped tool and do some sort of like broaching through it. It depends on the type of material it is and the sort of machine tool you're using. Okay, so let's just switch on those two toolpaths there, and then we'll take that through into the simulator. Right, so that's loading the simulator. So if we wanted to, we can see just the stock material, the workpiece, or we can see the entire machine tool. But on this one, I guess we'll just see the stock material. And if we want to, we can just play this through. Okay, I'll just stop that. Another way of doing it, just to save some time, is just to simulate the entire job and fast forward to the end so that you see the results. So there we can see the 2D toolpath and the 3D toolpath. Now obviously the tolerance that I used on the roughing operation here, I would need to tighten that up to give a finishing pass. But that's achieved using the tool step over here, so that's 0.25, so we might obviously want to make that much smaller for a finishing cut. If we didn't want to machine the face that has the angles on it as part of the 2D operation, then we could make up a separate sketch and just delete out those lines so that it's just an open contour for the outside shape. So we do exactly the same thing on these other shapes there, but that's the principle of how you read that file in and machine it.